Good morning. It is 8:34 a.m. on Saturday, February 5th, 2022. February 5th, 2022. It's a fun sort of paired alliteration there. Anyway, I'm Christiana Ellis, and I didn't just get up, but I did just post a podcast. This is 5 more minutes. I felt the need, compelled, you might say, to go ahead and post a podcast. It's the most recent episode, the audio podcast of the most recent So Many Levels game. I felt compelled to post it this morning because I realized while lounging in bed, wait a minute, did I actually put that up or not? Because I had actually done all of the audio production and everything for it Thursday night. And for whatever reason decided, you know what, I'll post that in the morning, and then I just forgot all day yesterday. So I did it while I was thinking about it instead of waiting to possibly forget again. These are the things that you must do sometimes. So I've been thinking a lot about the Root campaign because we have another session tonight, and the party is preparing, or they have just arrived at a new clearing, which just means I have the opportunity now to flesh out that clearing conceptually and come up with some ideas for what might happen there. And now this is a game that, if it came down to it, I wouldn't necessarily have to prepare a whole clearing in advance. Like, if they had arrived at this clearing in the middle of the last session instead of towards the end, I could have riffed on some stuff. I could have just sort of seen what there was to do there and kind of just discovered it organically as the party explored it. And that's okay. That's a fine way to do it. Although the risk there is having it become a little bit more aimless, less structured, right? And not that it has to follow any specific structure, because often I will find that the party will change up whatever you think they're going to do anyway. But in this context, it was more a matter of just like, well, you know what, a good way to prepare for role-playing games as the dungeon master or game master, in my experience, is to not plot stories, plot situations. You know what I mean? So describe a situation that's happening, or perhaps a problem that characters are having, and then be willing to let the party determine what the story is by their choices and their actions that they take. And rather than, just say, well, this is going to be like this, and then when the characters do X, I'll do Y, because what if they don't do X? Or what if they get out front and they do Y before I can? Right? So that's why you have to be able to react, but it's nice to be able to sort of, roll out the playmat and set a bunch of different toys to play with in close proximity, and then see what happens. Let them decide which ones they want to play with, rather than give them, a blank sheet of paper and say, figure something out. Anyway, I want to also, I guess, just briefly comment on, I recently have gotten caught up, so to speak. You don't understand the face that I just made until I tell you what I got caught up on, which is the Jackass movies. I have not watched the new one because I guess it just came out. I've not seen the new one. I had previously seen just the first one until this more recent effort of trying to watch 2 and 2.5 and then 3 and then 3.5. And part of what inspired that was, of course, the new one coming out, and the fact that a lot of people whose interest in films I find, compelling, like those movies. And even the Unspooled podcast is going to do an episode on the Jackass movies. And so, I resisted the Jackass movies for a long time, just thinking, like, that's so stupid. And first of all, the answer is yes, they are. But that doesn't mean they're not funny. Now, obviously, humor is subjective. Not everyone will find it funny, but it's one of those things where there is something frequently compelling about these guys just doing the dumbest stuff just just to make each other laugh, um, even in ways that sort of intellectually outside of the context of the movie. I would think. So what? The whole joke is that they hit each other in the nuts. What's okay? That seems really dumb. And then in the context of the movie, I am laughing. Um, I think it's. I think one of the key pieces of it is that I find practical jokes not as funny as a lot of the popular culture thinks they are, because frequently in real life, practical jokes are kind of just mean and are not enjoyed by the recipient at all, and are frequently kind of more just like bullying. But it's different when it's a group of guys who are kind of all just doing it to each other within their little closed circle. Like even the ones where, like in particular, one of the guys is frequently doing stuff to his mother and stepdad. And I had more of a problem with that in the first movie, where it seemed more like they were unwilling participants in this whole thing. But as the movies progress, it's more and more clear that, like, they're not necessarily saying, like, that they're not as angry about this stuff. Like, they get it. Like, they understand what's happening. And, like, they don't always, it's not like they're in on the joke for the individual pranks or whatever, but, like, that they get that that's what this guy likes to do, and that they are more or less okay with it, and some of them even get in on it a little bit. And I think actually it's an interesting and smart, maybe like a course correction in the part of the later movies to make it more clear that that's the case, because ultimately I think that's what makes Jackass kind of enduring in a way that some of these sorts of prank shows don't, is that they're all doing it to each other, right? Like, for as much as they get mad at individual pranks, you know that it's like this is a closed circle. And for every one guy who gets pranked, he's going to be pranking someone else. And half the time when they prank each other by setting the person up to think, like, okay, I'm going to help you prank him. But in reality, I've actually plotted with him to prank you. And that thing. And so, anyway, I guess I'm just saying the Jackass movies, yes, they are dumb, but they are also funny. I think I have some concerns about how much physical pain and injury these guys take. Because I guess like Johnny Knoxville specifically got like a brain hemorrhage or something in the most recent one. Seems bad, but it's not like I don't know. I guess maybe it's just them all being willing and signing up for it makes it seem more interesting. I don't know. I have some complicated feelings about it, but I did still laugh. All right, I'll leave it there, and I guess I'll talk to you all tomorrow for 5 more minutes.